Greetings everybody, we're at 3424 Haddonfield Road. What we're going to do is we're going to do a repair, or at least attempt to do a repair on the shingle outlined here. We have a damaged shingle designated there in green, and the entire shingle outlined there in orange. We have our work scope here outlined, as well as a beautiful 76 degrees out. We're going to outline the procedure, talk you through it, identify some of the forms of damage we are going to attempt to avoid, and we're also going to talk you through and identify our control square, which we'll go over to right now. So over here on this same rear slope, first off, we are on the rear slope here, as you can see. We have our control square, a similar shingle that has sustained damage, same kind of damage as wind damage with the crease there. We've outlined it. We do this so after we do the repair, we have something to control it to, before and after, or compare it to, before and after. We're not going to touch this. We're not going to walk on it, press on it, anything. So we have a good before and after of the roof system. I'll walk over here. We'll identify our damaged shingle. You can see that the shingle is lifted. There's a little bit of a crease forming here, so it is damaged. And we can zoom in here to see the above scope. There's nothing there, and the below scope here. Now, why do I have this bottom line outlined well on the control square? I don't. It's a good question. We'll get to that right now. The forms of damage that we identify and that we try to avoid are as follows. Creasing. This is the one that most people are most familiar with. That is when the shingle lifts up and hinges. That causes the granules to come out and starts to expose that fiberglass mat. That is a crease. However, the other forms are, and I'm going to go a little out of order here, cracking. Cracking is an exaggerated form of creasing. That's when the shingles are very, very brittle or rigid, and instead of creasing, the shingle just cracks in straight in half. So on a shingle that has a little bit of pliability left, you're probably going to see more creasing than cracking, although you could see a combination of both. Going over to tearing. Tearing occurs at the nail head, usually when you're taking the nails out or the fasteners out, and it can be a vertical tear or a horizontal tear. If that occurs, I'll make sure to point it out. That is a form of damage. Granule loss or G-loss, as I've written in shorthand, granule loss, you always have to be a little careful on an older roof like this, because granule loss, an older roof is always going to have some small amount of granule loss. So just because you see a couple granules coming out doesn't necessarily mean that, oh my gosh, there's damage and now we have to call this a failed repair. No, not necessarily the case. You have to be honest with yourself and honest with the roof. So if you see a little bit of granules coming out, that's not a big deal. It's when you see a cascade of little bits and pieces coming down, that's when you have an issue, and you categorize it as granule loss and damage. The reason granule loss is an issue is because granule loss is always a precursor to creasing. That's the way the shingles are made. Is when the creasing starts to form here, the granules are the reason it's creasing is because the granules have been dislodged from it flipping up in the wind, and the granules come out. That's why granule loss is considered, in this case, a form of damage. And then MT, or material transfer, or mat transfer, they're all names for the same thing. Material transfer is an adhesive failure that when you're doing a regular inspection, maybe it is, maybe it's not from wind, but in this case, it's from repair. That's when the adhesive on the shingles is so strong that when they pull apart, when you're trying to separate them, it takes a little bit of the shingle with it, either from the top or the bottom, or sometimes both. And you'll see a divot or a chunk or a piece of the shingle, the material, left over on the top end or bottom. So it is an adhesive failure. So the procedure we walk through, we have our tools here. We have our standard flat bar. This is not a pry bar. This is a standard construction flat bar. We have our roofing hammer, and we have our roofing nails. Very, very important when you're doing this, always use new nails. Don't ever reuse the old nails for a lot of reasons I won't get into. But so standard procedure here is we're going to break the seals. This seal's already broken, it's a damaged one. We're going to use our flat bar to break the seals. It's sealed here and there. I'm going to break the seals on this one. I'm going to break the seals on this row of shingles and break the seal on this row of shingles. That is then going to allow us to have access to the fasteners or the nails. This shingle is nailed here and it's nailed here. In order to get this shingle out, we're going to have to take the nails out here and here. When we do that, we're going to break the seals, remember, and then we're going to take those nails out using, again, our flat bar. Once we do that, the shingle should just slide right out, and not gravity slide, but we'll be able to pull it out. We'll observe the shingle for anything unusual. We'll take a look at the cellophane tape on the back, see if there's any manufacturer markings. Manufacturers love to brand their shingles, whether it's Tamco, Certainteed, GAF, Owens Corning. They always love to brand their shingles in some kind of fashion, so you know who you're working with, when it was made, and so on and so forth. We will then put our new shingle in. It's not a great color match. This is not a matching state, so we're not particularly worried about the color or the cosmetic look. We are focused on compatibility. The ITEL ASP identified that the Certainteed XT25 shingle was a suitable shingle to use. So that's what we have here. We have a Certainteed XT25 shingle. We flip this over and I'll show you what I mean by the cellophane tape. You see here? It says Certainteed right there. Certainteed. Certainteed. Then all these numbers here, those are to identify the specific shingle, location was made, lot number, and that kind of thing. So that's the shingle we're going to use. Put that in, you drive your new nail fasteners in, and then you observe for any of the forms of damage. Hopefully there's none, but that's what we're here to find out. So I'm going to put my camera tripod over here in my marked out designated area. There we are. Pick up my tool, and now we start working. So this tab is already lifted. I don't have to lift that one. I'll slide the tool under here to lift these tabs. I'll put my hand over it slightly. I'm not pressing down or digging my fingers, and this is just a guard or a guide in case the tool slips, you sneeze, you get distracted for a minute, because you don't want to jerk this up too hard. That will damage the shingle. So you're trying to protect the shingles, right? So you put your hand over just as a guide and just slide this right underneath. You saw me do there. And these are coming up real nice and easy. Some of them are already kind of lifted. That's not a great sign, but such as it is. So at this point, I'm going to lift the shingle up with the tabs up just a couple inches to see if we have material transfer. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good. That lifted a little. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good. That's it. Okay, so we can rule out material transfer. That's good. The reason we have this bottom section outlined is because if these two tabs have had material transfer, and they don't, but if they did, then these shingles, these tabs would have been damaged, and we would have had to include them. Fortunately, there's no material transfer. That's a good sign. So that's one less thing we have to worry about. Now, we go start pulling nails out, and that's just in the above two shingles. So again, want to be careful you don't lift too high. And this is where you're gonna, ooh, that nail is a little small, but it was in. All right, so this is where you want to be careful about tearing. Tearing where the nails are, that's at the fastener head or the nail head. If it starts to tear on this shingle, not a huge deal, it's the one that's coming out. But it does inform us of the condition of the other shingles and how we have to be careful. So that one didn't tear, it's not too bad. Also, it's a good chance to take a look at where the nails are. Are they nailed too high? Are they nailed too low? In this case, they're put right in where they're supposed to be, right in the designated nail zone. So it's a good install. You tell a lot about an install job based on where the nails are put in. And again, in this case, they're put in where they're supposed to be. So there wasn't There's a little bit of tearing on that other shingle, but not too much. So, not too bad. Don't let the shingle too much, just a couple inches. And the nails that I'm kind of tossing, I'll get back to them. I'll pick them up afterwards. Be gentle, and it comes right out. Good. Nails look a little old, but that's okay. This is an older roof. That's kind of what I was remarking at earlier. So I got all the nails out. My tool over there. And the shingle should just slide right out. And it does. Now I'm going to flip it over and see if I can identify anything. Oh, that sucks. There is nothing on there. No identification whatsoever. Let's see if we can measure it. Is it at least a standard 3 foot? Yeah, it's 36 inches. And it's 12 inches, so it is a standard size shingle. At least we got that going for us. But I'll show you here, and I'll get a picture of it too, in case the camera doesn't pick it up. Toss that over there. Clean up here. And we bring our new shingle in. This just slips right in. Now, before I do anything else, I do want to bring the camera over here because I'm starting to see some creasing forming. And before I start hammering, I want to show you the change just from pulling those nails. All right, so zoom in here. You can see right along here. I don't know if you can see or not. Right here, right there. There's a crease forming right there. There's a crease starting to form up there. I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not. There's a crease starting to form here. If you lift it up, you can kind of, well, maybe not the hinge there, but you can see, oh yeah, like this one particularly, you can see, I'm only lifting it about an inch. I don't want to jimmy with these too much because these shingles are pretty beat. So, yeah, so far this is the worst one. So we're going to have to be real careful with these shingles. See if we can turn you a little bit, see a little better. All right. Got some nails, I'm going to lift it up. Important not to lift it too high. Just try not to put the nail in. Boy, the granules are really coming out. Boy. Yeah, as soon as you lifted, I started hammering, you can see a crease really starting to form. That's too bad. That's a shame. Lift it up again. We don't want to lift too high. Just try not to get that nail in. We're doing this one twice because there's a shingle break. Okay. Nails are in. Bring you back over so you can see what this looks like. So just from, I'm going to adjust these legs so I can hold this a little better. Just from the nailing, you can see a crease now on this one. You can see a crease on that one. You can see a crease starting to form here. It's not as obvious on the camera. So how do we test for granule loss? One of the things I like to do is called a tap test. So that is simply, we just tap it. Although I want to show you what it looks like away from the work zone, so we have something good to compare it to. So come over here, come real close, and just tap it, right? Look at all those granules not coming down, even those damaged ones. Look at all the granules not coming down. I'm hitting that pretty hard. Okay. Again, we'll come up here. Here's an even bigger crease, right? There's little granules there. They're not really coming down. They're loose, right? But they're not coming down big time. So we come over here. Same thing. Look at all those granules. Over here. Holy smokes. Look at, they're like dancing. All right? Look at those granules dancing. If I wiped them away, we could have a collection. We could have a granule party here. My goodness, anything up here? Nope. No, a little bit from a crease there. That might be my chalk up there. So, all right, so what do we have going on here? Get my chalk back out. We have a crease on this one. We have a crease and granulose on this one. A crease and granulose on this one. We have a crease and granulose on that one. Nothing major on that one. Major on that one. Major on that one. We have creasing. Yes. Tearing? No. Cracking? No. Material transfer? No. Granulose? Yes. Creasing and granulose are present on this repair attempt. But let's go over to our control square. Again, this is the one we didn't touch, do anything to. Now the one time we're going to touch it is to do that tap test again. Let's check. Get real and close. There's nothing. No granules coming out at all. So, we can conclusively draw that the granulose and the creasing were linked to this repair. They were done in a good, clean, workmanlike manner. The repair was. We used the proper tools. It's a nice day, representative of when the work should be done. We were not overly aggressive. We did not force anything. Did everything the way it's supposed to be. And yet we still have damage. Therefore, we have to certify this as a failed repair. According to the National Academy of Forensic Engineers, we extrapolate this to the rest of the roof, and that every single shingle will fail as well. All of the other damage that is on this roof is also not repairable. So everything that we have marked here, all those shingles down that slope, the shingles on this front slope, none of it is repairable. We chose that shingle on that slope for several reasons. One, it was isolated from others. It's important when you do a repair test like this that you isolate it, or that it's isolated from other damaged shingles. Also that it's isolated from components, right? So we couldn't do one of these shingles down here around the chimney or the pipe jack because it'd be involved with one of those components, and it's not a good for proof of principle. But also, we also want to make sure that it's representative of the overall roof. So while we probably could have done one of these, actually no, we couldn't have, because they involved the ridge, and that's not representative of a single shingle. So while we could have done one of these on the front, these shingles are pretty bad. We want to give the repair every possible chance of passing. If you deliberately choose a really poor condition section, you're being disingenuous. If you choose a section over there where it's clearly in bad condition already, you're setting it up to fail, and that's being disingenuous. So we chose the best condition section of the roof in the hopes that it would pass, and it did not. So what we can extrapolate further from that is, if the best condition section of the roof is not repairable, then the other sections that are in worse condition, there's no way in God's green earth they're going to be able to be repairable. The only thing we have left then is to replace this. The economic feasibility is just outrageous then. If you have any questions, give me a call, give me a text, give me an email. Otherwise, I'll see you all around the horn.